Aung San Suu Kyi has gone from a heroine to villain without changing much. The committee that awarded the Nobel Peace Prize to Aung San Suu Kyi in 1991 described her as an important symbol in the struggle against oppression, and an inspiration to those striving to attain democracy, human rights, and ethnic conciliation by peaceful means. But to the crowd of protesters who gathered outside the International Court of Justice (ICJ) in The Hague, she's just the opposite: an apologist for military brutality, an oppressor of ethnic minorities, and an abettor of genocide. Aung San Suu Kyi, shame on you, they chanted, as her motorcade glided past, windows tinted. The cheers and boos rose in crescendo. Ms. Suu Kyi, who since 2016 has been Myanmar's president in all but name, was at the ICJ to defend the country against charges of genocide in a complaint brought by Gambia on behalf of the International Cooperation of Islamic on behalf of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, a group of Muslim countries. The case concerns the Rohingyas, a Muslim minority group that has suffered varying degrees of persecution since Myanmar's independence in 1947. In 2017, the Burmese army went on the rampage in Rohingyas areas in the far west of the country in response to attacks on military outposts by a small Rohingya guerrilla group. The court heard horrifying descriptions of mass shootings and throat slittings, with babies thrown into burning houses and women gang raped or stepped in the vagina. Listening to the accounts, Mr. Su said, poised and calm, with fresh flowers in her hair, just as there had always been in her decades doggedly opposing the military rule. That a woman who was herself locked up by the Burmese army for 15 years would travel halfway around the world to defend it has astonished many. In a certain sense, her struggle with the generals continues. Despite heading the civilian government, she's not in charge of it. The constitution they put in place before allowing free democratic elections to be held in 2015 makes the army onto itself, makes the army a law unto itself, and awards it a quarter of the seats in parliament, enough to veto any constitutional amendments. Many of Suu Kyi's admirers had attempted to exonerate her of the pogrom against the Rohingyas, saying that she was powerless to prevent it, and would only have made her look weak by railing helplessly against it. Mr. Suu Kyi's trip to The Hague has put paid to the argument. It is one thing to maintain a pragmatic, if reprehensible, silence, quite another to come slowly to the army's defense. Ms. Suu Kyi could, after all, have sent a draft functionary to present Myanmar's case. Instead, she loudly advertised her trip, knowing full well that few Burmese full Burmese have any sympathy for the Rohingyas, whom they see wrongly as illegal immigrants from Bangladesh, who threaten the Buddhist character of the country. Rallies have been held across the Myanmar, hailing her as a dauntless defender of national pride. It is hard to escape the conclusion that she is exploiting the Rohingyas' misery to boost her party's prospects in elections due in 2020. When the moment came for Mrs. Suu Kyi to make her case, she was oddly muted. She disappointed those 갔다 와. who had hoped she would reveal herself once and for all, to be an unapologetic villain by denying that the Rohingyas had suffered any abuses, as some of her government have claimed. But she also failed to admit the scale of the atrocities or the army's leading role in them. Instead, she argued that the burning of villages and the flight of almost 1 million Rohingyas to the neighboring Bangladesh should be seen as inevitable, unfortunate side effects of the army's ongoing war with various guerrilla groups. Where there was clear evidence of wrongdoing by soldiers, she claimed the authorities were attempting to bring those responsible to book, although she also hinted at the government's lack of influence over military justice. Nonetheless, the fact that any courts-martial were being held at all, she argued, proved that her government did not intend to commit genocide. It was neither a ringing defense of the army nor any sort of admission of guilt. This ambiguity probably reflects the true Miss Suu Kyi. She is clearly a nationalist, happy to see her country unhappy to see her country excoriated. She obviously wishes her institutions worked better, but is not ready to countenance outside interference to compensate for their deficiencies. She is not a full-throated apologist for the army, but does not trust anyone else to take on the top brass. The same stubborn self-belief that helped deliver Myanmar from military rule, in other words, is now standing in the way of justice for some of its most vulnerable inhabitants.